And welcome to Planet Collingwood here on Studio A, on Revolution Radio, on the internet, on planet Earth, in the solar system of the Milky... I'll stop there. My name is Monty Dean. How are you all? A big thank you to the previous show, the Y-Files, with Why Not? Because why not? If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio. Click on the Patreon button and share what you can because we're 100% listener supported, 100% volunteer as well. So we're just 100% yo. And once you're there, pop into the merch, buy some T-shirts and caps, and if you've got a little one, you can have a onesie, and then hang out in the chat room, which is, of course, it's Planet Collingwood, so there's 29 people on there not talking because they're laughing so hard they can't make it to the keyboard, and yet I've only said 3 jokes. Yeah, for those playing at home, what are those 3? I have been joined by many, many, many people. Let's start with, we've been joined by our Central American correspondent, Bruce MacDonald. How are you, Bruce?
I'm good, Monty, thanks.
Excellent. Our Mauritius correspondent, which is Indian Ocean, yo. Why am I trying to be anyway? Raz, how are you, sir?
Good. That will be South African, Eastern African.
Yeah, but it's still near the ocean. That's called Indian.
It's in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. I am the correspondent for all the aquatic animals as well. Thank you very much.
Yes. Coming up next, Whale Song by Raz. We've also been joined by a friend of Bruce, proving many, many people wrong that he has friends. Haha, take that. A new person to Planet Collingwood. Michael, are you there? He's on mute. Or he's gone to the toilet. While we figure that out, we've been joined by Cortek.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Remote correspondent. Loud and clear. Is it on? Is this thing on?
Yes, I can see why you got fired from the BBC. Yeah. Hello, Cortek. How are you, my friend?
All right.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Welcome to the Australian section of Revolution Radio. Death, famine, AIDS. Let's go to our Australian correspondent in the field. Yeah, g'day. Hello.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, May Street in the chat. Hello. So we have a chatter. So there you go. So what a week that was. Turning into David Frost. So where do we want to start? The false Ukraine-Russian Biden's an idiot war, or the rise of the Canadian Fourth Reich? Or I've been watching a lot of Ted Lasso, mainly because I'm waiting for Mum to come home from the hospital. So, options, and we have all the time in the world for what's been happening in your part of in your lives. So, all right, go.
Let's go with Ukraine.
Ukraine, everyone claims, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. All right, moving on to Canada.
Apparently, cyber attacks hit Ukraine's defense ministry or something like that, and 2 state-operated banks.
But see, the thing is, like going to the Ukraine, it's a massive distraction. Putin is playing 2D chess with Biden, not 5D, just 2D. Like it's a computer screen. Like he moved a pawn away, and Biden's freaking out. Biden keeps biting. Is that a word?
Hey! Did you hear Turkey's changing its name to disassociate itself from that lame bird?
That was a wonderful opportunity for you, Monty, there to say Putin is playing funny buggers, because he is.
Yeah. So what the flightless chicken? What are they changing Turkey to?
I think it's just slightly. It's like someone having a child and then with a letter that ends with S, but changing it to a Z to make the kid feel special. It's kind of like that. It seems kind of pretty silly.
Yeah, but Turkey ends with a Y. Turkey ends with a Y.
Well, if you want it to. A 16-year-old in Russia got sentenced to 5 years in jail for exploding I think it was like a government building that he had built in his own Minecraft world, which is kind of what you do in Minecraft. So that's 5 years for that dude, apparently. So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't sound Russian at all.
No, it's a little bit heavy-handed.
Yeah,
but it seems like it was a world that he built, which is just stupid.
Well, aren't they? No, is it in Metaverse, which hasn't taken off? But it's not. It's not Minecraft. It's actually Metaverse, where countries are setting up embassies, and they're selling fake. It's not going to work.
I think that's all going to flop because I think Microsoft is gonna bar it unless they can't sidestep that as technology. and there's not the technology to really. Well, Zuckerberg thinks he's passable from Ready Player One, and
you didn't say passable. Sorry, it sounded like he's passable for human. Yeah, he kind of looks like Data's son.
But no one's got the technology to make the Oasis. Apparently, is how it seems.
Nah.
So yeah, suck that Zuck.
Yeah, that was Zuck. I like to point that out. Cortek wasn't being rude. He was shortening a name because this is a family show. No one in my family listens, but you get the gist because we're like at the kids' table because the adults are dumb.
Did you see him on that? Did you see the Zuck on that planing board with an American flag in his hand? I guess it was Independence Day or something like that. It was so cheesy.
No, not really.
I don't know if he's just a construction of people in Photoshop. He just looks. I don't know what's going on. Over.
Not sure. No, I'm not a big fan. I'm enjoying Twitter because the hellscape that it is fun. Basically, that's what it is. See, these pauses are so someone else can chat because usually everyone's interrupting, but today, no. Like I yield the floor.
You're supposed to introduce a topic. So we were in Ukraine, we went to Facebook, then Metaverse, then Zuckerberg, and we ended with Twitter. That's not a logical flow.
You did listen to the intro where I said we.
Yeah,
can
I'm
talk
a rat.
Well, yeah. This is why you're fired from being Planet Collingwood's correspondent. You're independent contractors.
Anyway, mon commandant. So let's go back to Ukraine because this is the most meaty one, but at the same time, it's the most ludicrous one because funny buggers and all. Ukraine and the whole misinformation thing going on there, the amount of massive troop being moved, the fact that Ukraine has like 2 of its town or cities that borders the Polish border, but the remaining of Ukraine just doesn't give a lick about the NATO and everything. They have family in Russia, they have family everywhere. They don't want this mess. Mm-hmm. So this is a mess that started. When did it start? It started in December last year, somewhere around the 16, 17, and the 3 months that passed since they exacerbated it. It's obvious for people like us who are in the know that they are distracting us. But distracting us from what? I was thinking, during the week, I'm like, they're distracting us, yes, but distracting us from what? We got coronavirus, we got Ukraine.
Just general incompetence, generally, is distracting.
No, it's not. No, this is an incompetence when they're moving that much military paraphernalia.
It does seem like a massive arms deal at the same time, doesn't it?
But the thing is, let's go back. Let's just wind the clock back from even before December last year. The Ukraine has been having combat. Is that the right? Sort of like a civil war since 2014? Whenever like the Obama administration
during Crimea.
Yeah, well, however, I only know this because there's a metal band called Ginger who are from the Ukraine, and they actually had to move from one part of the country to another part because there was less war in the quiet bit. And so there's all this civil. I don't know if it's a civil war, but there police action. So now I'm sounding like I've got to stop watching MASH. But the UN. But there's been armed conflict in the country for 4 or 5 years, and it started with it started with the Obama administration getting rid of the elected government and putting in a neo-Nazi.
So we had the Crimea problem where Putin was told we were told that Putin annexed Crimea. And so it's been a decade since. Yeah, it's been a decade since. But what I understand is the West had the Middle East to play with. The West, since 1990s, Cold War, never really had the Russia enemy. And what I understand is they're getting rid of the Middle East as enemy, and they're putting Russia as the enemy there again, because they've been revving up the Russian narrative, Russian hacking, Russian this, Russian that, Russian.
Oh yes, 2016, yeah. And also, the real question is, why did Russia put its country so close to all those NATO bases?
It's up to something. That's why.
Yeah, I mean those crafty. I mean they just knew. That's the other thing. Like, if you flip the whole Cuban Missile Crisis, understandable. You don't really want to have missiles that close to your country, but do the flip where it's like, look how many US bases are close to Russia, and they're expanding NATO. I've watched a lot of Oliver Stone's documentary series. I somehow know all this information now. And so, like, I mean, all the European Eastern Bloc, which was Soviet Union, wasn't part of NATO, but there's been that slow, gradual step forward, closer and closer and closer. And so now NATO's roughly up to the Ukraine. And that's the only thing separating Russia and NATO is the Ukraine, Turkey. Yeah, they're only changing the spelling of it. It looks like the same word. Turkey. Yeah. France, Espanol, Deutschland, whatever, dude.
It's Turkey. Not Turkey.
Yeah. Anyway, Asia Minor, and let's go Roman. Yeah, and so this is what it's. The Russia feels like they've been cornered, and they slowly are. And that's kind of, I'm not sort of, I wouldn't, Russia seems okay, but then you find out, you can't say anything bad about Putin. And if you blow up a virtual reality government building in Minecraft.
Private Minecraft world, yeah.
So he built the actual government building himself.
I get the feeling that because in Minecraft you get these worlds, they just populate themselves with hills and dales and stuff like that. You can mine stuff to build stuff, and you make your own little worlds. So unless he was on a public server, which was maybe a government server, which I doubt they'd have a government public server for Minecraft, he was on his own server and making something. You just make stuff to blow up. So...
he wasn't on his own server. He was in a public server. There was a Minecraft construct in there that represented some Russian federal edifice, and the bloody kid blew it up.
Well, that's their own fault. If that's the government server, then they can have it set so anything they want to keep, like it's not being able to blow up. It's a switch they can set. So it's pretty stupid, if you reckon.
Russia, India, and China are deeply nationalistic countries, and they have to protect their sovereignty and keep that. Patriot programming
it's a question of techno-how, and it just makes them look stupid.
Yes, but Cortek, if they turn off, if it gives it God power for the building not to be blown up, how can they form a false flag of blowing up their own building?
Well, they just switch it off for a second, do that, then switch it back on.
Yeah, all right. It's all code. It's all code to me.
Anyway, it doesn't sound that cool for Russian people.
Well, that's the other thing. I think most of that area, Crimea, Ukraine, they speak Russian. There's mostly it's the gateway from Europe to Asia, and so I mean, we haven't even opened the books on the woo-woo aspect of what's going on there, because the Ukraine has been part of. I mean, look at Afghanistan. The graveyard of empires. That's not recent. The British lost over a century ago in Queen Victoria's times.
Willing to give it another go, though.
Well, yeah.
Time and time again.
Okay,
yeah, what was good for the economy? Go, Bruce. How are you?
Good, thank you, Cortek. Yourself?
Awesome. Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, Ukraine's a non-issue. It's a complete and total distraction, right? Nothing's going to happen. The only thing that might happen is Putin is going to take it. And if he takes it, nobody's going to do a goddamn thing. Nobody wants to go to war with. Two countries of that caliber are not going to go to war right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing.
It's just not going to happen. Nobody wants it. We literally can't wage war anymore because it's mutual suicide. Even if you don't go nuclear, even if you just stay with Tomahawk missiles, could you imagine the missiles in existence today? Look at what a couple of well-placed bombs did to New York City. Okay? Look at, the total effect of 9/11 21 years later. Okay? It was devastating. It ended up costing billions and billions and billions of dollars, not just the two buildings that went down. Okay. So nobody wants to go to that. Okay. Nobody wants to go to that. And it's not going to happen. I mean, and the United States doesn't have the power to sanction anymore. They just don't, because they don't have that cooperation. I think there's been a slow weaning off of the US dollar in the background. Okay. And so Ukraine is a complete and total non-issue for me. China is a non-issue, other than its never-ending encroachment into the Western economies in a non-cooperative, non-reciprocal way. Chinese only take, they don't give. They're the worst trading partner any country could have. Okay? And that's basically rooted in cultural chauvinism, what we might call in a politically correct world, racism. And these are the people that the leaders of Marxist BLM think are going to be their best bros. It's just, the level of stupidity now is just mind-boggling. And I mean, even if your only directive in this thought process and observation of world events was self-preservation, you'd come up with a better interpretation of what's going on in the world. Nobody has first-hand knowledge anymore. Everybody's basing their knowledge on what they hear and what they read. We don't know what's going on in Ukraine. I'm sure it's true that Russian troops have been massed there. Now, if you want me to weigh in on what is the morally correct position there, I'd say that Putin is morally correct. We would not, North America would not tolerate a semi-hostile country parking right beside it in a military capacity. Just would not happen. So, there's the universal measure of law, right? The universal measure of law is that which applies to one man applies to all men and women. Okay? No matter what your title is, no matter what your position in that society. Okay? So if you want to, the simple moral reasoning is, would we accept it if it was done to us? Answer is no. I mean, American behavior has consistently shown in the last 30 years that there's no tolerance for encroachment on American interests, even if those interests are a copper mine in Africa, right?
Yeah, so, it's the American empire.
So generally speaking, when you treat somebody in an inferior fashion to the way you treat yourself, it's a form of aggression. Okay? If you invited people over to your house for dinner, and everybody at the table except two guests you don't like got lobster and a New York cut steak, and you gave the two guests you don't like dog food, how would they feel? They wouldn't feel too welcome, right? Well, that's Russia right now. And so it's a non-issue. I know the Bible people want to make a big deal out of it because they want the world to end because their God told them it's ending in the book they read. But it just isn't going down that way. That's part of the problem.
I heard someone actually explain that Revelations is actually about Constantine and Istanbul, and back then there was actually the end of the world back then, and like, well, that kind of makes sense. Because sure. I mean, but as again, I could bring in the Mayan calendar. The media said it's the end of the world, and the Mayans were like, we didn't say that. It's just a new world starting. And very quickly to add to the whole Ukraine thing, can you see Biden being a wartime president? I mean, it's hard enough answering the question, can you see Biden being president? But yeah.
I can see Hunter being caught over there with another laptop of incriminating stuff.
Parmesan cheese all down his front, yeah.
So I don't think anything's going to happen at all with Ukraine, other than Putin might take it. And if you take, like I said, Germany doesn't want this. A lot of European countries don't want this. So why is America pressing it so hard? What is this? What is this?
That was the fun thing I asked earlier, and like you said, and you were right, the sanctions don't have power anymore because warfare has changed since World War II from kinetic to economical. Instead of attacking a country, you just sanction them economically. Now, if you keep sanctioning a gigantic space like Russia, China, and all, they started working together. They started getting their own resource. Guess what? Germany is getting its gas from Russia these days, which is just pathetic on a European level. So,
the idea of cracking people in the head is out of fashion now. You know, it's very difficult and Raz just gave me a perfect segue to Canada about how he described the modern warfare. So when you look at the Emergency Measures Act, which is the rewrite of what we used to call the War Measures Act, and they're really the same thing. We didn't like the word war, so we changed it, right? Now, this act has only been used twice in Canadian history, and both times by a Trudeau. Okay, so it's really kind of creepy if you understand the full history of it.
Nothing sus.
The other thing to notice is that the powers, kind of hard to read articles when we're on the air, Cortek. I don't know. Plus the pace at which you're posting them. I don't think if I was even on the radio I could read them as fast as you're posting them.
Well, he's my Jamie. He's my Jamie.
Multitask. You can multitask if you think you can multitask.
Yeah.
You're not posting it on our chat. You posted it on private chat, I think.
Okay.
No,
anyway, so sorry for ruining the flow.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say that. I did see a headline that
the West is lost and without a shot fired, and apparently Putin said that, and that's what we're kind of talking about. Like, realistically, the enemies of the United States have just to sit and wait. And like inflation when Biden came in was 1.6%, and it's up to 7%, and it's just over a year that he's in charge. Like, if you're thinking about taking the United States, just sit back and watch.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Monty. And this is actually more rewarding for our enemies to see us tear ourselves apart, right? It's like they can go back to their people now and say, look, we told you it was a completely corrupt society. Even their own people are revolting. Basically, what our leaders told us in 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down. Right?
Yeah, I think that's what Russia's doing. They're just sitting back watching the decay of the West.
Yeah.
Well, Russia is self-sufficient. Like, do they? Obviously, they have imports because countries do that. But look, they're actually, the landmass is a third of Asia. Now, a lot of it's empty because it's, Canadian-style country because it's so close to the pole. But they're selling gas to the Europeans. Realistically, they're fine. They don't have to expand at all. Like, the only reason you would go to the Crimea and the Ukraine is because 80% of the people there, because of the last 100 years, are basically Russian. Yes, no,
yeah.
Duh,
yeah.
Niet.
So, have you guys ever eaten Russian food? You ever been to a Russian wedding?
What's it like?
No, I have. If I may, very quickly, a short story. Henry Rollins, he's in a band called the Rollins Band, and he was touring, and they went to Russia. And the first time they went there, someone in the group said, like the organization of the band, oh yeah, let's get traditional Russian food. And Henry's like, no, I'll get a steak. And so he gets actual food, and the rest of the band's getting like borscht and cabbage, raw cabbage. Just, well, Bruce, explain, because that's where you're sort of going, where the Russian cuisine's very unique.
Well, the interesting thing about Russian cuisine is it's by and large cold. So you get a plate of food and everything is cold, like it just came out of the refrigerator. The meat is cold. The potatoes are cold. The minced meats are cold. They eat cold. Like, I don't know. It's a very weird diet.
Let's just look at it. You've got Stalin, and they're in the winter is 10 months long. It's not really
they came up with it during
all the more reason
communism.
to throw all the more reason to throw wood into the stove and cook something.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but we're thinking clearly. That like, I mean, Australia's so unique that we've got a lot of British traditions. So when it's 42 degrees Celsius, we're having a roast. But anyway, back to Russia and their
maybe they're just common sense about it, like the millions of dollars spent on the upside down pen when you can just use a pencil. Well, it's cold anyway. Might as well use the snow as a fridge and eat cold food. Yeah, okay. Sure.
I like that example.
I want a beef stroganoff. I need to practice that. Yeah.
Sorry, my comedic brain says, you want a masturbating cow? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a beef that's gone full Russian. So stroganoff. Stroganoff, like Dmitry, comrade, where's the beef? It's stroganoff. Here's the whatever the fuck. I need to practice that.
Yes. Yeah.
So-
Apparently they introduced beer to try and get people to drink less. They just had the same amount of vodka and they added beer to their diet.
If I
Russian
may.
history. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so getting back to the segue that Raz gave me about the way war is waged economically now. The curious thing about the invocation of the Emergencies Act in Canada is that all of it is against the straw man. Seize your truck, cancel the insurance, cancel your personal license, cancel your commercial license, and freeze your bank accounts. It's like turning a light switch off on your light. It's actually more brutal in many ways than a direct confrontation with a line of police, right? And everybody involved in this convoy, if that's all they know is truck driving, is going to lose their living. And there's a lot of trucks involved. So it's just another example about how this system was designed to get you into a rat trap. Okay? If you don't have the ability to live outside of it, you are literally captive now. And that is true for every Five Eyes country. Okay? You do what they say or else. They turn you off, man.
Yeah. If you would like to see that in movie form, the movie from 1992 called Demolition Man. It's a dumb action film with Sylvester Stallone. Correct. However, the utopia that they live in is basically what the Great Reset is, where if you go against the political powers, you lose everything and you live underground eating rats.
Yeah. So, and when you look at all the successful military campaigns against vastly, on paper and in the popular imagination, vastly superior forces like Vietnam versus the United States, the Vietnamese, their entire supply chain was right around them. That's why the American soldiers burned villages. If they said you were giving rice or food or meat or giving a pig to the Viet Cong forces, they would come in and destroy your village because you were cooperating with the Viet Cong. But one of the reasons that the Viet Cong were able to wage that war is all they really needed from outside, which they got plenty of from China and Russia, were AK-47s and bullets and maybe some mortars. Okay. But they didn't have tanks.
They used lots and lots of booby traps.
Now,
as well, yeah. There was a lot of tunnels, and by upsetting the natives, that there was a lot of hatred towards the invaders, be the Americans. And an example is the Americans would bomb a bridge to stop the movement of the Viet Cong moving forward. However, because they're upset all the locals in the area, that bridge is built overnight.
Yeah. So
kind of like Afghanistan. Oops.
Yeah, exactly.
Destroy and rebuild, but we'll rebuild it and stuff. Sorry, Bruce, go on.
It's kind of hard to destroy mountains, though. They tried.
Yeah,
give it a good shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they also left a lot of hardware, but that's a different point. Go ahead, Bruce.
So then you contrast with the American war footing. Okay, you got the Viet Cong working together, giving each other food, helping people escape, maintaining an underground tunnel system. Now look at American war. Let's take a look at Iraq and Afghanistan, okay? What's American
bombing?
It's an opportunity for a subsidiary indirectly owned by Dick Cheney to sell toilet paper for $9 a roll to a base.
Yeah. And food and everything else.
We have been completely and utterly spiritually betrayed as a people. Our leaders haven't been with us for decades. We're not a culture anymore. We're just this weird mutation that lasted 100 years and is now dying on the vine. Okay?
Yeah.
And when these 5 countries, the Five Eyes, die, there's not going to be a whole lot of multiculturalism in the world. Everybody's going to go back to living as cultures. Okay. And if you look at the major disruption to cultures in the last 50 years, it's been the multicultural military force. Okay. Nobody else is invading other countries. We're the only people who've been doing it. Now, there's a big karmic backlash coming to America. It could have been avoided. I maintain that what Trump had to do was rebalance America's relationship with the world by offering up powerful people and either trying them in America or sending them to The Hague. On this very radio network, I must have said it 24 times. He never did that. And the karmic cloud is still above it, and it's just waiting to pour rain. Except this time, it's going to fall on the people. Okay?
Yeah.
So it should have been the leaders. That's what I thought Trump was doing, but it's actually going to be the people. The American people are going to suffer for this. Okay?
And we could even look at the British Empire, which collapsed right. Well, I mean, yeah, it started to collapse after World War II, and they changed the name to the Commonwealth. And I think, yeah, Britain has invaded every country on the planet. There's an achievement. But look where they are now. It comes down to corruption and banking and all the secret society stuff and all that type of stuff. That's the main issue that we're having here.
Yeah.
But the fallout is that I watched the latest Bill Maher, Real Time with Bill Maher. If anyone caught that on Friday,
I did.
Yeah, it was a fantastic show. Like, it was interesting to see two people that had a discussion and they didn't agree on everything, but they were respectful. It was fascinating. But I can't remember the Marianne Williams was on, and I can't remember the chap. He's an entrepreneur and he had a book, and it was basically having a go at the wokedom that's out there. But he was just pointing out what we're seeing here now isn't left or right or the rich. It's basically the people are over the corruption in the governments, and because the governments have gone too far. And that's what we're seeing now. Is it's like, well, no, because the false narrative that the media puts forward, well, that doesn't exist, and the governments are just hammering it down. They still think it's 1533 or something.
Yeah. Now, let's take a look at COVID for a moment and look at that crumbling narrative. And we'll go back to the little prince in Ottawa, Canada. Well, actually, I'm not even sure he's in Ottawa, Canada physically now. Here I'm referring to, Justin Trudeau.
I had Tucker Carlson call him the illegitimate son of Fidel Castro on a show about 3 days ago.
Yeah, he's done it a few times, and he's not joking. I heard one broadcast where he just was reading from the script, stopped, rolled his eyes back, and went, "Of course he's Castro's kid."
Yeah. It's funny just to hear everyone talking the same now. It used to be just people who centered around this station, and but now you are like you go and strike up a conversation with a grandma, and she's saying the same thing.
Yeah, it started out as a joke, but that's how our humor works. It's based in truth. And so I actually saw someone on Twitter say, "Do you think the Canadians will ever re-elect another black president?"
Yeah, that's a good one. Alluding to the blackface folks, if you don't know the Justin Trudeau story.
So, the first black president of Canada, Prime Minister Castro. And people go, say 3 months ago, people will look at me strange. Today, him. Like, the comedy's gone, but the truth's screaming out.
So we got this alleged disease, COVID, which is a variant of SARS-CoV. Okay, I was reading a report today by the national NIH, the National Institute of Health in the U.S. It's like one of the premier places for researchers to publish, and somebody had posted a 2005 article that's actually relevant, Cortek, and I don't have to read.
The other ones were too.
For those playing at home, Cortek actually has shared a photo of Justin Trudeau sticking his tongue out in blackface. Now, I'm glad that it's not a full body shot, because apparently while he's cosplaying a black person, he put a banana in his pants.
I was about to say, was he doing Anchorman with nothing on below?
No, he was wearing pants, but he had a banana to accentuate his nether regions.
How delightful.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Oh, he's racist. Oh, no. He's really racist. Back to you, Bruce.
Okay, so let's just do a little bit of a medical primer here, and we'll go around the round table. Michael, are you there? Or are you still on mute? What's going on there? I don't know why he joined. He told me he wanted to join, but
super busy. He'll be back later on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, what is a vaccine and what's its purpose? There's my question.
Does this come down to, can we even call it a vaccine?
A vaccine.
Technically, it's
I'm not
not.
talking about COVID. I mean, in the general lexicon of medicine, what's a vaccine and what's its purpose?
A vaccine is supposed to introduce that which you want to inoculate into your system, so it trains your system to become resistant to it.
Yeah, in computer language, you're adding a program so a virus will not actually infect the hard drive.
Okay.
Vaccine as in vaca, cows.
Yeah, but what they have now, they've changed the term of vaccine twice in 12 months, and there isn't a flu vaccine; it's actually a flu shot. And what they have here is it's a COVID shot. They call it vaccine to get the general public on side, and it's some of them, not all of them, but most of the MMR, right, whatever that is. But it's gene therapy, because instead of actually like giving you a little bit of smallpox where the body goes, oh, we don't like this, and then they defeat it and get antibodies, they're actually tapping it. I think it's through the spike protein, and correct me if I'm wrong, and they're manipulating your DNA. So if that version of COVID comes into your body, it can actually fight it because your genes have been manipulated. Slight side effect is that it's ruining your immune system, so anything else that comes in, you get extremely sick.
Completely off topic, but okay.
Yeah, so I didn't ask what an mRNA vaccine was. I just said, okay, what's a vaccine and what is it meant to do?
Like I said, it's vaccine is simply the way to introduce it into your system. You introduce.
Okay. So very simple
right.
question. Let's try one more time. What is a vaccine supposed to do? If you get the polio vaccine, are you expecting to get polio?
No, you're not expecting it.
Okay, so a vaccine is a medical remedy to prevent you from getting a disease, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so they're now selling the disease as mitigating the effects of Omicron. It would have been much worse had you not gotten the vaccine. So basically, it's no longer a vaccine, it's a treatment. And their first order of business at the beginning of this cycle was to shit on all other treatments. Hydrochloroquine, ivermectin, the concentrated antibodies that Joe Rogan took. Now, what is a treatment? I'll ask the table. What is a treatment in medicine? And that question's being asked in the same way I asked the question, what is a vaccine?
In terms of expectation, it's something you expect that will fight the disease for you, treat you,
Do a job,
yeah. So a treatment is when you get a disease and you're trying to push it out.
Essentially,
okay?
yeah.
Okay. So there was officially no, I mean, what I'm trying to get at here is the handling of this pandemic. It has gone beyond incompetence into criminality.
Hey, Michael from San Antonio, rebooted.
Yeah, turn your camera off, but we can hear you.
Is that your...
Sounds like you're in a hog rendering plant.
Something really close to your face or something. I can see the edges.
Yeah, it's my headset still isn't working. This is my ambient mic.
So why is your camera on?
It's okay. The lowest 16. I'll try again another night because it's just not working tonight.
No, we can hear you. Just turn your camera off because it eats up our bandwidth.
Okay, there we go. Is that better?
Hey,
yeah, that's it.
There we are.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
So a treatment is what you do when you have a disease and you're trying to beat it. Okay.
Yeah.
We were told, the whole world was told, literally forced, because ivermectin and hydrochloroquine became almost impossible to find in Europe, Canada, and the United States, and possibly in Australia too. They did not want you treating this disease. They wanted everybody to get the vaccine. And lo and behold, the vaccine doesn't work. And you got to now ask the question, how many people died because the government gave no treatment options?
Billions.
It's kind of worse because it's kind of worse because if you look at when, like, I know in Victoria, those treatments became hard to get or were banned in February 2020.
Yeah. But why ban a treatment? If everybody's on the same page and we want to beat back a disease and some people want to treat it and some people want to get a vaccine, why would you almost make it impossible for people to get treatment? Why would you do that?
It's about profit, profiting
sell the vaccine
over your
and get
own network.
Money.
And if it's not your network that seems to be profiting, then you use your media network to shut that down. That's exactly what we saw.
Well,
we shouldn't, now that it's all coming out, and the guy from Moderna or whatever, or Pfizer, is selling all these stocks and getting out. I think it's Moderna. Or something like that.
It was Moderna, yeah.
And it's all kind of leaking out, and that everyone's just trying to weasel off by not saying anything. We shouldn't really calm down the fact of everything that we saw along the way, which is just ridiculous. And the great thing about the last 2 years is that everyone put their from big tech companies to governments really put their cards on the table. And we should have been, if you have been watching, you should know who to trust and who not to trust, and what companies to use and what companies not to support.
We didn't get transparency from everybody, but there's transparency of the institutions that are trying to not be transparent, be it big tech as well as the censorship, the government, and everything else like that. There's actually
Facebook and YouTube censorship. They should not be supported at dead platforms.
Well, yes, it's annoying to build. Yeah, mind you, I'm on 4 different. I won't get into that. There is apparently Pfizer is working on a COVID pill, which is basically just redesigned ivermectin, because ivermectin's patent ran out in the 90s, and so it cost
get on that
7 cents to make. But they're going to sell the COVID shot for 70, the pill for 70. They just changed the name, and that's the level of transparency where they're trying to do things, but it's not hidden and secret. It's in plain sight, and they're hoping that humanity will forget, because that's how they've gotten away with a lot of things. Like if you look at the history of the Clintons, they should have been in jail 6 times before 1990. But they just keep just knocking down. Like, did you know Andrew Windsor? Alone. Yeah, there you go. Prince Andrew, or was Prince Andrew. Apparently, he has come to it's not agreement. They've settled the civil case with his accuser. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And it's not surprising at all. So I don't know if the Queen said and James Bond said, like, yes, drop your case, or James here will shoot you in the face.
So here's the thing to contemplate now. What these people have habitually done is somebody's calling me, but it's not coming through on my. Jesus, that was weird. What was I saying?
How much you love me? You would have given me a lot of money. I was talking about Prince Andrew.
That was a good test, and we did fail. Yes, I'm hanging my head low.
Just how the corruption is exposed now because of just their actions, where the pharmaceutical companies, it's all about making money, and they've paid everyone off to get, like here in Australia, our federal government has ordered 200 million doses of the vaccine, which is weird because that means it's like 9
person.
Well, it's 9 shots per person. Now, obviously, some go to
Joe Biden got 14 per person.
Okay, so we're not doing that. Not doing too bad.
Yeah,
I'm just
Canada does the same thing.
I'm just glad to hear it, because I haven't heard any figures about any other countries. That's interesting. It's like
it's super funny when you start comparing country to country or place to place. That's why it's so good to have people from different places, because then you can just spitball it quickly and just see how stupid it is.
Yeah. Now, with the Australian allotment, they do share that with the South Pacific Islands, but still, like, that's still way too many, even if it's only a quarter.
Let's just leave it at the docks. Let's not put the South Pacific Islanders through this ridiculousness.
Was it Germany? Someone actually got burnt a lot of vaccines because they were out of date or something like that. My radar's not working that well this week.
Wasn't Austria, was it?
Oh, who knows? I mean, you think Austria and Germany would have learnt from the 1940s, but not. They think it's a good idea. Like the random papers, please, and it's the rest of the world's like, really, Austria? This sound.
Anyone
that's a good thing about Bill
enforcing it. It just
Bill
looks
Maher,
a little silly, or uninformed, or unaware, or unsavvy.
Bill Maher actually referred to Justin Trudeau as Hitler because of what he was being saying. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, why did Austria go so quickly from? They were one of the first, even before Australia talked about concentration camps. They were demanding concentration camps for the non-vaccinated. They went from that to just completely. No, we're just gonna all the everything's all the lockdowns are gone. COVID doesn't exist anymore. It's very strange.
Yeah,
Don't look over here.
I think someone in City Hall was dusting off some policy from the 1938 and going, hey, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And then everyone's just...
Let me give this a quick reread.
Yeah, and then it's like, hang on, this seems very familiar. So, I mean, it's fascinating if you like with all the fascism and tyranny. Israel has been one of the leading countries. What it's going through all this, and you think the Jews would understand. This seems very familiar as well. I'm just putting. I know we don't mention Jewish people here on the station that much, but like just the
Can we?
Yeah. How is Palestine faring through this as well? Like, are they just sitting there going, you know what? We'll just sit back and let them destroy themselves.
Europe's, speaking of over there, Europe's data watchdog is calling for a total ban of the Israeli Pegasus software, which is the framework that it enables, basically if you click anything, if something's sent to you via SMS or email, and you click on it and a link, and that's your device controlled. So that's the Pegasus Israeli-owned software. So it should be banned, and it's a good thing that it's on the radar.
What's funny about that is it doesn't really matter because there's 3 telecommunications companies in Israel, and every call that comes from the U.S. goes through their traffic. So we're talking the Pentagon, the White House, everything, FBI, NSA, everything, and our government knows it.
It's interesting here in Australia.
Sold to third parties as well. So Pegasus is something that can be sold for anyone to use.
Interesting enough, here in Australia, a lot of people, I'm not sure if this is global, but I know it's an Australian phenomenon. I'm getting a lot of texts saying that my package is on its way. We couldn't deliver it and all that type of stuff. And of course, if you click on it, it goes to a Bahamas website, Massachusetts or whatever.
That's pretty much the prime example of Pegasus.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is a lot of people, because we've been forced to use QR codes, and someone sold off all that, and so it's and the amount of scams. Dear scammers who want to try and do something, stop calling me. You've got your information wrong, and that's what sets it off. I'm not going to say too much, and you're probably not listening, but they keep, hi, I'm from Telstra. I'm not with Telstra. I'm from Optus.
There's a lot of it going on.
Yeah. And it just reminds me of the story of this one guy. I think he's in the United States. He scams the scammers, and he puts the videos up, and like he taps into...
Is that the guy who has stuff stolen off his front porch and he puts this spinny glitter bombs in them and stuff like that? That guy's good.
No, that sounds like real world. I'm talking about a guy that hacks the scammers in India, and then shuts down the entire warehouse where they've got the whole call bank, the call centers.
That's much cooler.
Oh yeah, I know. Modern day Robin Hood type thing. It's like, well, if you're going to try and destroy lives, I don't know. You search everything else, but you won't search this.
What's it? Sounds like know. Superman. My Google search terms are Superman hacks something.
Well, AY using Google. But but see, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, from a certain perspective, everything's falling apart. It's terrible. But if you just look a little bit closer, it's like, by doing all this bad stuff, it's making them look worse and they're digging their own hole. Where I mean, there was a Canadian election last year, I think, and that's what Trudeau's clinging to. Oh no, we voted. It's like, yeah, but you can't sort of like we vote someone in and then 5 years later we'll say something about it. By then, the country could be on fire. And that's what we're seeing because people don't like what Trudeau's doing. You may notice all the hardware in Ottawa. And that's why he's not happy about it because he's lost control. The same thing was happening here in Melbourne and Victoria with Premier Andrews, where it got to a very close, almost revolution. You could feel the energy in the city. It was like, no, we're getting our pitchforks. We're going French Revolution on your ass.
Yeah.
And then he announced 2 days later, oh yeah, the lockdown's over. Like, oh yeah, timing.
He went to Weasel School.
Oh yeah, well he looks like one. And Western Australia's worse. They're still in lockdown. I like how they use the only jurisdiction in the world, and like, well, that's kind of telling because I thought it was a nation or a state, but they're calling it. They've gone extremely legal.
I think they'd be happy to supersede from the rest of the world at this point. Western Australia.
Remember Perth. Yeah, Perth is the most isolated capital city. And so every time I watch a medical program, we'll put him in isolation. They're sending him to Perth.
That's good.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, we can see these bad things happening, but like, Bruce, I will be interesting to hear your point of view. With everything that Trudeau is doing, he's making it worse for you. You're only making it worse for yourself. He's digging a bigger hole, and he's going to wake up more Canadians. Where Trudeau's Canada was probably him and 6 advisors, and the other 32 million people are going to go, get out.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but also there's a lot of wokeism in Canada because, like, I think that's what's upsetting a lot of other people. Where it's, you have Jordan Peterson, the whole thing with pronouns, where if you get what was it was a law. If you got the pronoun wrong, you could be sent to jail or something ridiculous.
Did anyone pass that law?
That was Bill C-16.
Yeah, I think that Raz, the guy you don't like, Jordan Peterson, pretty much single-handedly backed that law down.
I know. I was about to say last time Bruce gave me shit for it. No, I respect that, but I still hate him.
Yeah, and see, free will, you can. I mean, you don't want to burn down his house and kill his children. Just don't go to his stuff.
Yeah, don't hate anyone. It eats you up inside. It's no good for you.
Well, yeah, and mind you,
not you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently I'm a Russian bot and a Nazi because I dislike the Last Jedi script. So I've been dealing with this stuff since 2016, 2017. It's like I still maintain the actual Nazis, the ones that went to the South Pole are just sitting back going, I'm not going back. They're getting the name wrong. Everyone's a Nazi. Hans, get the Infinimus. No.
So another big chunk of Antarctica broke off apparently.
Well,
Nazis
yeah.
They try and uncover it or something.
I think most of the Nazis went to Switzerland. I think Switzerland was just another
skiing holiday.
Yeah, exactly for them.
Yeah. Argentina, Switzerland.
They took it over.
Well, it took over NASA, so yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, guys, that COVID would have been a lot worse if you didn't get the 2 shots.
That was a headline here in Australia. That was the headline here in Australia. That was a headline, like the doctor said, someone who was double dosed died from coronavirus. Luckily, they had both shots.
Yeah,
and like he died. Yeah, what? He died.
You know what's been the most painful thing during coronavirus?
No.
That's gonna make me
watching people in gym who are in gym in order to get healthy wear a mask and breathe their own carbon for hours.
Where? Because a lot of the gyms were actually closed. A lot of the gym junkies are actually. I know. I live here. Not here. No, gyms we're doing this for your health, and all the gym junkies are on our side because they didn't understand. you closed the gym, but you want to do it about health.
It was closed for lockdown, but it opened for like 6 months a year, the last 2 years. So yeah, I've seen it all over the place. I didn't tell them anything. I just let them do their own thing.
Yeah,
so what we saw in 2020 was, democracy killed like a kind of a baby taking back their rattle or something like that, which is the system that that it's all kind of done in, and they haven't realized that in the last 2 years it's completely changed again and again and again and again. People's distrust, there's no confidence in it, if there ever was. People, apparently over in some countries, people are even questioning their faith.
And perfectly timed there, Cortek. Thank you for that. We are halfway through Planet Collingwood. Bit of feistiness, but we're all on the same side, so it's kind of good. We will be back after these messages. Stick around. And we're back, part 2 of Planet Collingwood. We're halfway. We've come out of the lockers and we've had our oranges, and we're going to play well and move the ball up the middle, which is kind of weird because it's a radio show. Anyway, if you enjoyed the last hour, please go to freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio and donate what you can. We're 100% listener supported, so thank you for all those have donated to the station. There's Studio A and B, and I think I'm on B at the same time because Dave Scott has finished his show. So, we have options, which is the fun part of being on this planet. We have options, unlike the globalists who just want one option and it sucks. So there you go. I've been joined by Raz, Cortek, Michael, and Bruce MacDonald. He's special. He gets a last name. All you other people don't. So do we want to continue on where we're at, or shall we quickly talk about entertainment and end up where we're at?
Well, I found out who called me. It was Daryl. Remember Daryl?
Oh, yeah, Daryl. And his brother
Arkansas.
Daryl.
Possum stew, Daryl.
Yeah.
He wanted me to tell the story or give the background around Justin Trudeau being Castro's biological son. You want to do that, Monty? I explained it all last week, right?
Basically, I don't know the names, but his mum was in Cuba around about the time he was conceived, which is verified in the dates and travel logs. And they went to Cuba a lot.
Pierre Trudeau and his wife, they were active swingers, and Pierre Trudeau was quite a bisexual, homosexual himself. And in the 70s, they were very active in the swinger life. So she used to sleep with a lot of men beside Pierre Trudeau. I don't think Trudeau was interested in women, but perhaps a little bit, mostly interested in men. So Justin's mom pretty much slept with all kinds of men. It just so happened the dice rolled on, what's the guy name again? Fidel?
Yeah,
Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
So briefly, when the story first came out in 2015, when Trudeau first got elected, all the major newspapers ran stories because it got really big on the internet. And they said, no, Justin Trudeau is not the child of Fidel Castro. And they presented the travel logs. Now, for those of you who don't know, when you become a leader of a country, everything is recorded in your life except maybe your bowel movements, but it will be documented you were in the executive washroom for 15 minutes, right? So you can pretty much assume the guy, either taking a dump or jerking off, one or the other, right? Because it doesn't take that long to urinate. So these lives are meticulously documented. It's part of the law. There's people calling for the arrest of Donald Trump now, because he took all his personal records. He does not want any record of his time in the White House except his legislation and his public statements existing. And a lot of people, I saw Rosie posting this on Twitter, Rosie O'Donnell. He should be arrested. And she cited the actual section from the act in the United States, which makes it illegal. But Trump did that. And, even leaving the White House, he was a maverick, right? But my point is that their lives are meticulously documented. A national leader, it has to be known by the public where he is at all times. So unless there's a security issue, they're going to tell you exactly where the person is. So if you've been following the Canadian news, you know every single vacation that Justin Trudeau and his family have taken. And they love their vacations, right? And it's in the newspapers. And when he goes to, and anytime he leaves the country, it's a 24/7 job. And everything you do is documented. The amount of time you're on the national airplane, the amount of time you're in Parliament, when you're at home, everything. So they went into the old archives and they dug them up, and they said, look, here are the records. He was nowhere near Cuba. But if you actually read the records, and this was uncovered by an independent blogger, an independent journalist, not somebody paid $80,000 a year to write propaganda, a real journalist probably working in their basement at home because they don't make any money. And what she pointed out was I don't know what the name of the island is closest to Cuba, but they were there. I think it's like Barbados or something like that. They're like, it's like a puddle jump over to Cuba. And then it states in the official record, and there was one other Caribbean island visited, but the Trudeau family has requested that it not be stated in the record. That's it. I mean, it's Fidel Castro's kid. Okay. And then you look at the pictures. I mean, come on. That is a striking similarity when they put two pictures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The facial structure, the brow, the nose, everything.
Which kind of it brings up the question of like, well, shouldn't Canada have a really good health system? Because Cuba does.
And all of Trudeau's other brothers are quite small. They're down around my height, 5'7", 5'8". Because Pierre Trudeau was not a big man. He was about 5'7", 5'8". He's one of those small French guys like Napoleon. And his mother was like 5'2". And Justin Trudeau is 6'2". And
wow,
lo and behold, Fidel Castro was like 6'3" or 6'4". Okay, that is Castro's kid, and Tucker Carlson knows it now, and this is why he's fearlessly saying it on a national broadcaster in the United States. Nobody's going to sue him, because it's true. So either these guys are finished, or we're at the stage of the plan where they go to the underground bases and they incite a foreign power to nuke us. It's one of those two options, and I think it's closer to we've won. Okay, and look, there's all these people who have crazy fears about, America or Canada being invaded by China or Russia. There he is holding his son. It's kind of ridiculous because the greatest joy a country with animosity towards your country could have is to see your country implode without any force.
Yeah.
Because it sort of proves their point, right? This was an unstable country to begin with, and it's falling apart. What's going to be very interesting is how these experimental colonial nations, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and the United States, how they get through this, okay? Because we're entering a phase in history now where racial and national unity are becoming a thing. The Russians are a people. They speak the same language. They have the same 2,000-year history. The Chinese are a people. They speak the same language. They have the same 8,000-year history. What do we have in these mongrel countries? And this is what we are. I mean, I'm being a little derisive, by calling multicultural mongrel. But that's how, believe me, that's how China sees it.
We've got no manufacturing.
It's not just China. Russia sees it like that too.
Yeah.
And so, tell me something. I was just thinking, and you could very well add it to what you're saying. Suppose Pierre Trudeau's and Fidel Castro relationship goes public, and they try to damage control and they fail. What exactly is the repercussion on a political level?
I think there's a vast number of people who won't care.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No.
And
I mean, What exactly does Fidel Castro do to Justin on a political level as a prime minister?
Well, I'll try
by
it
being
this
his
way.
father?
But I'll try it this way. Imagine if it's not Justin Trudeau, it was Donald Trump. The media would use that and to discredit him of Donald Trump's.
No.
Let me finish.
No.
Donald. What do you mean? No, I'm trying to answer. I'm answering your question, and I haven't got
No,
to the
you're
end
not.
of it.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
I'm saying, as the president of, Prime Minister of Canada, what exactly does his relationship with Fidel Castro does to him? If it comes out public and if they acknowledge it, do they kick him out and say, hey,
I don't know if you want to. Well, I don't know if you want the answer because I was trying to give you one.
No,
they can just.
All right. Say it.
The media, the media won't do that much. But if that was Donald Trump or someone the media hates, they will use that. It's that classic. They'll use the son is like the father. However, because Trudeau's on that side of wokedom, they'll probably some of them will probably cheer because there's a lot of those idiots. Even like Rage Against the Machine. They support Che Guevara and all that type of stuff, and which is cool to actually look into these people. It's like, dear God, they're evil monsters. So what would actually happen? Probably not much. But if it was someone else that came out, there was the son, instantly he could be a traitor because his father was the brutal dictator of Cuba. I mean, look at in World War II, how many Japanese people were put into camps in 1941, 42, just because of they're Japanese, and the federal government was afraid.
You mean as Australians? Yeah.
As well, yeah.
No, I thought you meant locked them up at the time of war kind of thing, even people who were citizens of this country. Yeah. Because their background is Japanese. Like, if we went to a war with China, they'll probably try and do the same thing because they'll be infiltrated. So, that's a possibility. Now, what would really happen? Probably not much. But it'll be a talking point. It actually may divide people even more.
Is there anything in a nation's law that says if the leader's father is not what he stated, something happens?
No, but
I wish
you
there
may
was.
you may lose the favor of the people because they would think that he's a communist and he's the son of a tyrant.
I'd like that added to every election. I'd like for every election, everyone who is willing to go for that position, you have to weigh up something pretty meaningful. And if you stuff up what you set out to achieve or what you promised the people, then you've got to give that or whatever you promised,
Oh, what you mentioned earlier too, he's on the side that basically the same people that own all of the media. So there's not going to be a whole lot of blowback in the media. Like, I completely agree with you on that point.
Yeah, the mainstream won't go, oh, by the way, and then they'll move on. They'll try and memory hole it.
The liberal media might actually spin the narrative where your father doesn't matter.
Well, it comes down to that.
out.
It comes down to that nature's versus nurture type thing of like, are we dictated by DNA or the environment you grow up in? And for those purposes, they'll go, oh no, DNA means nothing. And I'm sure they'll, you know what I mean? Because you know how they bounce across. I mean, I'm not asking the question because that's going to be a 4-hour conversation. But from their perspective, because it's like, it's very eugenics. Like, you'll have these supporters of eugenics denying that it exists because it won't go their way because Justin is one of them. But then on the flip side, the Queen, the whole thing about the Queen and the royal family is eugenics.
Most of the sheep of Canada won't react to it because 3 years ago, this guy said he respected China and no one reacted to it. I doubt anything would happen.
But a different country by now because there wasn't 2 years of lockdowns and treating everyone and just the ridiculousness of it all where you have to be double vaccinated to leave the country.
What hasn't been factored into so many countries is how much has changed in the last 2 years of people's opinions about how dangerously incompetent every step of the way, so much so that it seemed like a profit game, that we've seen from every single, government or network. This network is another thing that we've seen in the last 2 years. How wide it spans and who to trust, who not to trust.
Anyone notice how the doxing happened to those people who supported the convoy, and how the platform that was offering the charity, the crowdfunding has been, I think, labeled terrorist or something now. Something's been made. I forgot. I need to look it up.
Yeah, it's up in the chat.
Oh, it is.
It's somewhere in the chat. It's up there. Yeah.
I can't see anything on my chat. He posted it on another chat somewhere. Which chat did you post it in? No.
Skype.
No. It's not in the chat. I can't see it in there.
Skype's being weird because there's 6 people on the call, but my Skype's saying there's 4 people on the call. So they
Funny buggers is a universal law now. Everything plays funny buggers.
Yeah. The Prime Creator's having a laugh.
Prime Creator, exactly.
Apparently, there's a bunch of dudes doing an art project, and it's going to be bigger than the pyramids. And basically, it's not a pyramid scheme; it's a trapezoid. It's the same kind of thing. They want to do a massive. Christo and Jean-Claude, those guys. The last thing they did was wrap the what's that big roundabout in France, the Arc de Triomphe.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger than the pyramids, they say.
See, that's the thing as well. Like, it's interesting time for an art because I shared a meme and it showed a screenshot of The Simpsons where it was a Bailey government or something like that, and it's basically all the punk and the rock establishment simping for the government, and it's like punk rock's supposed to be against the establishment and freedom. But in the last 2 years, all these big bands of, you have to get vaccinated. Like, even the Foo Fighters have announced they're actually going to do some Canadian shows. I'm like, bold move. We live in very interesting times.
Christitude.
Yeah.
I think the only true punk band left is The Exploited, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Bad Religion probably still playing around. I always love those guys.
Yeah, but are they for the vaccine mandates and blah blah blah? And
I
think the true punk bands out there now, we wouldn't know about them because they wouldn't get anywhere.
There's no way Waddy is pro-vaccine.
Yeah. Like here in Australia, there's a small group of musicians that are against the whole mandates and the vaccine passports, and it's very difficult to try and tour. You've seen it in the United States where a performance, like even Joe Rogan, is stopping putting on shows at venues that demand vaccine passports and tests and stuff like that. Dave Landau, who works with Stephen Crowder, is doing the same thing. And
Coachella, the latest Coachella is doing that too.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic because the headline is Rage Against the Machine. I think they're changing their name to Rage for the Machine, just letting you know.
It's stupidity, and it shouldn't have been going on for this long. And we're still stuck in the bias of a lot of people who this is their first false flag. They didn't start looking at things a decade before this, and a lot of people still really, really, really. Although you can see people, having little funny things or saying, it took me a month to get over or feel my left leg or something, after having the vaccine. They're still like, those crazies. They're still knee deep in the psyop.
Yeah, but there's millions of people that haven't had anything happen to them from the vaccine. Unfortunately, we can't sound like a Sith Lord. We can't use absolutes because everyone's unique. And there's a lot of.
I don't agree with that, and this is the one thing I completely and utterly 180 degrees disagree with Andrew Bartzis on as well. Do not get this vaccine, okay? Just do not get it, and there are going to be massive health effects in the next 5 years, okay? This is absolutely the beginning of the cult, okay? Andrew got this one wrong, Monty.
Hey, host, how you going?
Fine.
Hey, Gad.
Oh,
Hey, you going? Hey, you
hush.
go.
Go ahead, Ken. I don't want Monty. Go ahead.
I can walk to you. I can walk to you, Cortek. It may take a while, but I will punch you. My point is that Omicron is so weakened now. It's basically the COVID-19. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Well, it's technically giving you its own vaccine if you get
the
Omicron.
sniffles. It's the
Yeah,
sniffles.
well, that's. Thank you for backing up the exact same thing I just said.
Your
And
precise
so,
technical
like,
data.
yeah,
Do
like
you
the
you
Delta
guys know about the
strain's dying
graphene
out.
oxide, right?
That's
Yeah,
too
yeah.
expensive. It'll be cheaper to put cocaine.
I don't think that ever went. I don't think that ever went international.
Yeah, but cocaine wouldn't allow you to control somebody on a nanotechnology level, which is
So,
what the point is.
so what we saw at that concert? Because I was in some random caravan park or whatever we camped for the night, and our neighbors just started talking to our neighbors. And this is where you can just talk to them. This is where just have a look at the comments to see how many people just bag the shit out of this stuff, or just talk to your neighbors and your grandma, next door neighbor, who just can tell you probably something about something they found out, but is just knee deep in it as well. They said that like at that some concert where there's a couple of kids died or whatever that the GO was involved in, there was a moment where said there was like a frequency played or something, and maybe that was what kind of triggered
the music is
graphic
also
oxide
shit.
to do stuff. Well, yes.
The music was actually shit as well. I just had a thought. I know more people that have been affected by the vaccine than actually get COVID. Now that could be just my existence in this reality where I don't hang out with COVID people, but I see more stuff about there's deaths on both sides. So of course it's that whole.
Continue.
I'm trying. You're trying, but it's a different way. The English language, where the same word, different meanings. It's the whole wait and see. Over to you, Raz.
In defense of Andrew Botts, he understands his position as an authority figure, and even though he knows the side effect of it, he can't exactly go out and make a blanket statement that says coronavirus vaccine is bad, because of the 3,000 to 5,000 people who watch his videos on a regular basis, 99.9% of them are absolute idiots, absolute idiots. And if Bart sits so much as say the vaccine is bad, those people will quite literally fear themselves to death. And he understands that. And that's one of the reasons why he just said, go ahead and take it. But Bartsis is a man of extremely unique perceptions. He expects you to have your own perception. He expects you to do the thinking. He expects you to figure it out like you did, Bruce. So
maybe
don't
it's
take
a
his
test.
words literally. Don't take his words
been
literally.
There's been a lot of genetic analysis on the vaccines as well. Principally, Stanford has done most of the work. And there is a scale of danger to this vaccine based on what race you come from. And it is most dangerous for white Europeans and least dangerous for Ashkenazi Jews.
I think it was more than 2 years ago. I think it was more than 2 years ago that you called it cosmetic culture. Same thing.
Bruce,
so I just want to double underline that. I didn't read that in some bullshit I love God, Jesus, and America blog post. That is Stanford University. Okay.
Now, here's a good question to bring in at this point in time in the conversation, because my jokes aren't working. See, there's a joke right there. But have you noticed the rise of HIV, like in mentions, not actual
I was about to mention
cases? Because for whatever reason, that the non-prince Harry has come out and said, actually, I'll say the statement and then I'll tell you a joke afterward. Prince Harry has come out and said everyone should get tested for HIV. Brings up a question of why, and then someone actually put underneath it, I'll get the HIV test if you get a DNA test.
And this segues into Bruce's earlier comment about treatment. HIV essentially trashes your immune system and makes you prone to all kinds of crappy disease out there, which prompts treatment. and that's how the narrative goes. So go on,
So
people.
which is the thing you can live with, and which is the thing that kills you? Is it AIDS or which becomes which? Does AIDS become HIV in its most acute stage, or does HIV
becomes AIDS?
Oh, okay.
HIV is the virus. AIDS is the effect on the body, as in acquired immunodeficiency syndrome.
Yeah.
So HIV is the virus.
Magic Johnson is still alive. I saw a photo of him not wearing a mask. I think it was at the Super Bowl. I mean, that's a totally different conversation.
He was in a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, and he got AIDS. He's been alive for 30 years. Now, obviously, he's probably getting some of that CIA treatment. But
yeah, I thought he was the poster boy of HIV deaths.
Yeah, he announced he got AIDS around about the same time that Eazy-E did.
Wow.
Or they were at an orgy at the same time, or they were figured out. Yeah.
Obviously, some strains were stronger than the
others. Because AIDS is HIV. AIDS is essentially our computer and its antivirus software. So if we give our computer a coronavirus injection, it will destroy the antivirus software and leave us prone to viruses. So that's what essentially they're doing to us, because we are.
AIDS doesn't. Yeah. AIDS will help you die, but AIDS itself doesn't kill you. It's the normal common cold can kill you because the immune system is not there.
I think the more dangerous way to think about it is you could, if you did this, you could know what you put into it, so you could then make other things off the back of that had things in it that could react adversely if you just use one of them in your ingredients, like Smilex, from Batman.
I think, Cortek, you need to actually watch Team America again, and when they get act like you've never acted before. The scene when he actually sees Gary perform in that Broadway show. You probably won't be laughing. Everyone has AIDS. Yeah, that's not going to be funny anymore. Because it
is.
There is one narrative that's been missing. Actually, it popped its head for like a few days, very early in January 2020, but it's been missing ever since. And that is the fact that nodes are disease-filled. And there was this little narrative of using notes carry disease. We won't be using notes. We will move to digital currency. For the last 1.5 years, I haven't heard that narrative in the whole COVID narrative. I wonder what happened.
It kind of got lost in it because the people realized, oh, come on. But now, because the way that the government of Canada have done this, people have gone, and this is why you can't go to a cashless society.
Yeah.
So by making that action, it's an example of maybe we don't go digital. Even I'm seeing posts from people pointing out that cryptocurrency is a big psyop because it's worse than fiat.
Yeah,
it's a big way to digital currency.
It is still being experimented in the Nordic countries.
Crypto's a gateway drug to totalitarianism. People,
absolutely,
absolutely, man. It's not anybody still pushing that is part of the problem as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to note that
money is digital money.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that Forbes has a story out. So Moderna has lost 140 billion on its stock value as insiders begin to sell.
Yeah.
Now, why would you sell stock in a company that has had its biggest windfall year in the history of the company?
Because you're trying to get out early.
Well,
what do they know? That's the question. What do they know?
The same thing everyone else knows?
They know something.
Yeah, but it's the same thing like the financial chicanery that happened before on 9/10. Where all these, certain people, when something big happens, a lot of people are told. I mean, how else is Nancy Pelosi?
Get out quick.
Yeah, get out, insider trading, basically. And so, is it Warren Buffett? When he does something, everyone follows him because, if he knows something, but I think that's a two-edged sword because he may just do something to be cheeky, and everyone does it anyway.
You would.
But it's kind of telling
So
go ahead, Bruce.
we have another leader in Canada. Now, for those of you who don't understand parliamentary politics, we can have things in European, Canadian, Australian government where we have what's called a minority government. And I guess some faction of it can appear in American politics as well, but American politics is the most unique on the planet. And in the parliamentary system, if you have a minority government, you have to have allies in the House of Commons. Like, you have to have the leader of an opposition party who has 12 or 14% of the seats in the House to get your party over the minority position. So the guy who's doing that for Trudeau is a guy named Jagmeet Singh, and he's a Sikh guy.
I was about to ask him about ask you about him. I remember you posted on Twitter.
Okay, so
unique name.
So get this, okay?
He's Sikh.
Yeah, he's a Sikh, as are many of the people in the truck protests, because a lot of Sikhs drive truck in Canada. So he issues these bombastic statements in direct conformity to the Trudeau position. These are racists, these are extremists, and these are white supremacists. Here's a little unknown fact about Jagmeet Singh, okay? Not many people in Canada know this. It came up during the election. One of the columnists at the newspapers told everything. Jagmeet Singh is not allowed back in India. He's defined as a Sikh terrorist seeking Sikh independence in the province of Punjab and linked to terrorists in India. This guy's the leader of an opposition party in Canada, propping up a minority government, calling the protesters extremists.
He's linked to the 1984 Khalistani issue that happened in the Sikh temple. Because after 1984, a lot of those Sikhs went to Canada to escape the riots.
So going back to your question earlier, what is the political fallout of Justin Trudeau becoming out as Castro? Absolutely nothing, because you just look at this guy. He's a part of the coalition that runs the government in Canada, and he is a known terrorist who's not allowed back in his own country.
Yeah, they do weasel courses for 6 to 8 years.
There's a difference here. In the case of Castro, he's way more popular, but in the case of Sikh people, not many people understand Sikh people or understand India or understand Indian borders. It's extremely convoluted politics, believe me. And I just so happen to be good friends with the guy whose grandfather started the paratroopers in India, World War II veteran. And he told me pretty much all the politics of Sikhs at the borders, Pakistan and all that. And believe me, it's an absolute nightmare. And many Sikh are good people. They just want to live. But many of them are quite extremists. And Jagmeet just so happened to be one of them. And if he happens to be an extremist like that, then he is a guy who would understand, the narrative very well. And he will use all kinds of Marxist liberal arsenal he can to just trash everything. He's like that. I read his policies. He sounds like an undergrad student sometimes.
Yeah. So this is the state of Canadian politics, and you can only imagine how stupid the populace is to allow this to happen. The only people with common sense in Canada now are the common people. Okay? Anybody. Now, the thing about Canada is at a per capita ratio, I don't know what it is in Australia, but like if you add up everybody, like the police, firemen, municipal workers, mayors, premiers, ministers of provincial parliament, and then you go to the federal level, it works out that about 1 in every 3 Canadians is a civil servant. So a full third of our population is allegedly there to serve us because they're civil servants, right? And so what happens in countries like this is you get this pocket of people insulated from the vicissitudes of economy that everybody else in the private sector has to endure. And by vicissitudes, if you don't know what the word means, it means ups and downs, okay? And when you come from Canada, and specifically when you come from Ottawa, as I do, and I don't like Ottawa. My father told my brother and I, get the hell out of this town. Go make your lives and make your names somewhere else. This town is dead for everybody who's not born French now. Okay, now that's a whole other story I could get into. It has to do with the Official Bilingualism Act that Justin Trudeau's father brought in. But I know these people. I grew up with them. I've been unfriended by quite a number of them in the last week on Facebook. These are people I've known since like the second grade. Okay, and you know, they just don't get it. You know, and there's so many people like this now. And most of them, when you study them closely, they have been highly polluted by over-institutionalization. Too much education, too much soft, non-essential work in government's civil service positions, all of these things. Because in the government, anytime they want something actually done, like a software program build, what the bureaucrats do is they just hire contractors to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't actually do any work. So a full third of Canadians is some kind of a manager. And you should see how this breaks down even just to like parks maintenance. Okay, you got groups of guys, you can see them any summer day in Toronto. You got groups of people, 4 of them arrive in a pickup truck, and in 3 days they'll do the same amount of work that 2 Portuguese or 2 Italian laborers would have done in 1 day. Without even really breaking a sweat, right? So all of these people are bought by the government. This is why you have to be cautious about your civil service getting too big, okay? And in America, I don't think there's any, just Michael is the only American on the call. But the corollary to this in America is probably the military and all of the ancillary military suppliers. That is a de facto civil service, okay? And that employs millions of people, okay? But in the case of the military, because they actually do something, they actually have to go to wars, they have to fight, they have to die, they have to get their limbs blown off, they have to get PTSD, they end up on the side of the common man. So really what we're up against now are really, to make an analogy to Orwell's 1984, we're up against the pigs, okay? And the pigs are the people who just keep everything for themselves, and they live these completely, I can't begin to tell you how many people I know in Ottawa who do nothing, and make $250,000 a year. And if I were to say to them over a beer in a pub at Christmas, like, what substantially did you get done in this ministry this year as a deputy director making $248,000 a year? And because I grew up with them, they don't lie. They'll just look at me and they'll go, "Nothing, Bruce, nothing." And then I'll say, "Do you ever
I
feel
know a
guilt?"
few of them.
Yeah.
It's more about splitting stuff up so you don't have to do anything.
Do some
isn't it?
people
Hung
claim
parliaments and
mental
stuff.
illness and disability and rape from that?
Yeah.
The same bunch?
Say again?
Because those people who choose not to work, they claim some disability and they get the benefits from it. Are they the same bunch?
No, those are just people who, like a Russian hockey player, they fake an injury to advance their cause, right? So, that I don't know what you're getting at there, but I mean,
when I was studying psychology, I got to meet a few Canadians online who will literally just play video games all day and claim they have some form of PTSD or anxiety or some depression crap, and they get prescribed some garbage, and they get money every month, and they do nothing.
Yeah,
they just get money every month.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Well, that's what they want to do with everybody, right? Like the Great Reset is, number one, it's a massive cult if they get their way. But I can't see it coming into focus, not unless I don't know, not unless they get a lot more aggressive. But I think our numbers and our ability to voice ourselves is going to be much more difficult in the coming months and in the coming years, because honestly, let's take Monty as an example. Monty has been extremely involved in the health issues of his parents for the last year or 2 years, right, Monty?
5.
Yeah. Okay, that's going to be everybody in these highly vaccinated first world countries with the ethnic population most vulnerable to the vaccine. Okay?
Not to mention the autistic and Down syndrome too.
Oh, it's just, this is an attack on the human race. It really, this is the attack, the first volley. Okay.
What was that
And
video you sent me the other day, Bruce? Or they got, what was it, a 3,000% increase in cancer? What was it? Like 100,000% increase in some particular type of heart disease.
well, no. Okay, so it's the stat I read was a 300% increase in cancer. Now, if you go back to the early days of the virus and you listen to what people were saying, like Dr. Fleming, like Dr. Malone, like Dr. McCullough, the early voices who said, look, these vaccines are not suitable for human consumption, okay? If you go back and listen to what they were saying and the predictions they gave, they're actually all coming true. Myocarditis, and there's a reason we have advertising on the side of city buses in Ottawa and Toronto now that say children get heart attacks and strokes too. And like, when? I'm 55 years old.
Since when? Yeah, since the last 2 years.
Basically, the question is, what doesn't give you a heart attack now? Now, apparently, making the bed could give you a heart attack. Doing this can give you a heart attack. And it's basically everything that can give you a heart attack except for the vaccine.
So what we have to consider now is that everyone who has had these things have had these building blocks put into their body. At this point, you can see farmers selling, saying, I've got these things in here. What do you want to do? Here are those blocks. You can, what do you want to do?
Now,
Bruce, it was you coined it cosmetic culture over 2 years ago now, and it just seems.
There's kind of one problem though, which would add to the disastrous decay of society, is the health system is under strain now. And so if 80% of the population gets sick and tries to go to the doctors or hospital, what do you think is going to happen to the health system?
Yeah.
Mostly what it's affecting is people with complications already, from what I've seen.
Well, they'll be the first ones. They'll be the first ones because they've got complications. They've got pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
Now, earlier I mentioned something about, masks. And I said I saw a lot of people wearing it in gym. The reason I said that is like Bruce was mentioning, the first volley or the first wave attack on mankind is, one, you're getting a vaccine that is trashing your immune system. Second, you're wearing a mask a lot. That mask will get filthy really fast. Now, a lot of people don't understand, but surgical masks are meant to be worn for maximum an hour, not more than that. And it's meant to be
touch.
Extremely
and
not touch and not meant to be worn 24/7. Now people are wearing same mask multiple days, 24/7, working, accumulating all kinds of crap from their surrounding, and there was an skyrocketing numbers in cases of meningitis, which you get by sharing toothbrush, kissing everyone, and swapping fluids and all kinds of crap. Now, with an already trash immune system, you're asking for trouble. So first, immune system trash. Second, accumulate all kinds of bacteria in your mouth via mask. And especially on kids, that's just bad, man, because a child's immune system is not as strong as an adult. And three, we have the curse of the modern world, the clean world, as opposed to a guy like me who is in, dirt, Africa. I got a much different immune system than, say, a guy who was raised in Ottawa and a much cleaner environment. So, they are trashing the system of human beings. They're trashing the health of human beings. The next phenotype of human beings that's going to come a generation, 2 generations from now will be a much, much weaker bunch. Probably you can cough on them and kill them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that saw it coming, just frankly.
Well, yeah, because David Icke mentioned it in the 90s. The people are sharing Alex Jones clips of what's actually happening now. And he just knew. And the only way that Alex Jones knew is all he did was read the white papers. He didn't make this stuff up. He used the paperwork from the government and actually read like foreign Council of Foreign Relations and everything else like that. He just did research and put it together. That's why he's been ostracized and clamped down. I mean, I jokingly say, but it's based in truth, he's 97% correct all the time. And people go, oh, no, he's a far-right whack job conspiracy theorist. Yeah, who happens to be 97% correct all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you see these little stories come and go, and there's not many people who can hold them together like that. It's super interesting. But, you know, it's super, I don't know, it's so funny because it's on people's individual...
Yeah,
you answer those big questions, then you've got to answer all other big questions, and it's just this slow process.
I'm a little bit miffed. Remember the movie Lethal Weapon? When Mel Gibson's character Riggs gets shot, and he's wearing a bulletproof vest. In the movie, he's like, "I'm pissed, Rog. I'm pissed." But they changed it. They changed the line to television. It's like, "I'm miffed." He just got hit in the chest by a 50 caliber rifle. I'm a bit miffed.
I'm going to send a stern letter.
I'm slightly upset. I may say something. Yes, I'm very British. But yeah, I'm not. No, Cortek. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, Rog. I'm disappointed. My point is, I'm kind of, coming from the conspiracy world. I've been on this station a long time, 7 years. Yay. And I'm tired of everyone dumping on the conspiracy theorists. Like, how did we get here? Well, you ignored the conspiracy theorists for a decade and a half.
Yeah, we still haven't healed past that yet, but we're just going to be quiet on it. You guys could just work it out in your own time. We're not going to ask for a public apology or anything about how you took the shit out of things that we're noticing and patterns we're taking.
But unfortunately, about a third of the conspiracy theorists freaked out because their theories came true, and they've just gone into batshit crazy land and just coming up with everything. So it's not a good look. But at the same time, how many people I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm not one of those tin hat foil hat wearing geezers, but I think we should prepare for 30 days of food and everything. You're a prepper. You cannot say these preppers are morons and then say I'm going to do the exact same thing.
The truth is somewhere usually
bring the world together.
What was that, Michael?
You know how I think we could bring the world together now? If we
is it parking our cars on the freeways and all holding hands? Didn't we do that in the 80s?
We all go. Avatar 2's coming out.
I reckon it's about time we could do that. We should do that again.
Yeah. How about we let Michael finish his sentence?
As you were.
If we could talk Rowan Atkinson into doing a modern day political satire like he did with Blackadder, it would be just balls to the wall brilliant.
Yeah, Blackadder in the thick of it. If anyone's seen that, which is English satire. The problem is with satire for me, it comes too close and it turns into a documentary, and I don't really find it funny. But that's just me. I'm a unique individual.
I understand that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is hilarious. It's like, no, it's not. It's truth. That's the scary part. I mean, parody and satire are slowly dying because half the stuff that's coming out, it's like, oh my, was it a congressperson, someone in government somewhere actually said, we're living in Black Mirror apparently. But a mayor or a congresswoman actually said, we need to get rid of these truckers. We have to slash their tires and drain their tanks. And it's like, have you ever tried to move an 18-ton rig with no tires and no petrol or gas in the tanks? You haven't thought this through.
Was that the one on crack that still's got a job?
No, interesting enough, the mayor that's on crack is doing better than the other ones who aren't on crack.
Oh, well, there you go.
Does he have more teeth, though?
Yeah, he's keeping his teeth. So he's got a relationship with crack. So,
he's got it under control.
He's a high functioning crack addict.
Yeah, he gets that CIA level crack. No, none of the street level stuff. Mind you, if you remember the movie Aeroplane, or in Australia, Flying High,
yes,
Lloyd Bridges' character, what a week to stop smoking heroin, or what a week to stop sniffing glue.
That's basically week.
Yeah, the wrong week to stop
Monty.
drinking coffee. Yeah, that's the last 2 years. Yes, Bruce.
Do you like movies with gladiators in them?
I was about to say.
Have you ever seen a grocery?
Sometimes, but I
Have
haven't
you
been
ever
to
seen a Turkish prison?
No, I was about to say I've never been to a Turkish prison. No. This is Captain Over, and this is Unger. I was over
Roger,
Unger during the war. Roger.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was Roger.
Yeah. You tell your dad I'm working the court. I'm not there.
But you look like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. No, kid, I'm telling you. And he grabs him by the lapel.
I'm working my ass off every night, running up and down the court. Jerry never has a second cup of coffee. Jerry's never an asshole. It's a good film. And apparently now,
It's a
how's
great
this?
film.
Everything.
I can't remember the actor. Oh, that's right. Brace yourself and maybe mute so I can actually get to the end of the sentence. Liam Neeson apparently is going to star in the reboot of The Naked Gun.
Oh,
He's dead.
Which time?
No,
what
Liam
timeline are you-
Neeson.
Didn't he do that already?
No, Liam Neeson, the Irish actor, not
Oh.
Leslie Nielsen.
Oh,
Leslie
Leslie
Nielsen.
Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen is
Thank
dead.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So I'm just wondering, we're
Thank
all
you.
on different timelines, and that's a massive Mandela effect. Liam Neeson died? Like, no way.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, he's got an action movie that opens in like 2 weeks.
yeah.
I'm like, he did
Uh,
that.
How old
I-
is he now? 70, 80, 90? How old?
Yeah,
Probably. Who knows?
He's like
yeah.
68, 69, I would imagine.
Yeah. So, but Leslie Nielsen is a comedic guy. I actually seen someone made up a meme. Liam Neeson. It just goes through his career where he taught Obi-Wan to be a Jedi, and he taught Batman how to fight. Blah 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 blah. So why would anyone take his kids? Because they're talking about the movie Taken. And my parody of Taken, you remember the Steven Spielberg miniseries about aliens called Taken? I want to mix them together. Like, my daughter's been stolen from aliens. Give me that phone. I have a
I've
set
got
of
a certain set of skills.
We have a Babylon.
I
I have
will
a
find you
UFO
in the
in the
cosmos
basement that I
Why
built
is that?
myself. You've seen plans I stole from Roswell.
Yeah. See, that's a film I would like to see. Taken.
Monty, I've tried my best to be funny this roundtable, but this is really difficult material. And it's also very difficult to work with a group of people who name cats.
There's
Well, that's
nothing
your
wrong
issue.
with naming any cat something to do with pants.
Yeah, looks like we've got a cat namer. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he close with his cat? My God, he gave it a name.
The cat allowed that? Wow. That's a
Bruce.
it's a merciful cat.
Bruce. This sort of thing will be normal in the first world, but in Costa Rica or in here where I live, this shit won't fly. It's like, really?
Nobody names cats. Dogs, yes.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah,
But if it's
definitely
just a
not
property marker,
Barely even dogs, though, right, Bruce?
barely even dogs. I think
Yeah.
my wife has a little dog. He doesn't live with us because my dog would kill it, but he lives over with my mother-in-law, and his name is Canela, which is Spanish for cinnamon. But that's about the only dog. Oh, and one of my sisters-in-law has a poodle, and its name is Doki.
That
Yeah.
sounds kind of creative.
So what's the pest registry like in Costa Rica? 4 names and the other one, there's 10,000 dogs.
So what should we call it?
Yeah.
Dog.
Well, they love animals, and you're actually not allowed to harm animals in this country. You can go to jail, like if you know. But yeah.
That's good.
Jens,
So, is
I need
anybody
to say
here?
something. We're gonna have
Final
2 minutes
thought.
left.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Okay. So I
No.
just wanted to bring up something that we had been talking about, with Jimmy Jean over on what used to be that place he did his show. And has anybody seen any of these Secrets of Playboy that have come out, this new series?
No.
I've
It's
seen
it's
two
worse than
different
anybody
stories.
imagines.
I've seen two
It's-
different stories saying, Hugh Hefner was a monster kind of thing. That's the only
Well,
pattern I see.
You know those people we thought we were crazy in the 70s and 80s, waving their Bible, calling it debauchery, and we all thought it was healthy sexuality? The Bible people were right, man. Hugh Hefner was a monster, and bestiality.
What's the name of it? Playboy?
The Secrets of Playboy.
He had sex with dogs. He liked dogs.
It kind of makes sense, because if you're in that world, you eventually have to keep building up that energy, and so like you try one thing and then you kind of get bored apparently, and then you just keep amping it up and you get into the weird stuff.
My question would be, what kind of dogs?
Corpses on fire.
I don't know. One of his wife's dogs, but he had he also had a healthy private collection of real gang rape films and snuff films. This is the gentle little dirty old man we grew up with, Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, in the wrestling documentary Beyond the Mat, they talked to Jake the Snake Roberts. If you're familiar with him at all, he walked out with a snake. I mean, big jump. But because he's on the road all the time. He ostracized his family. He was on prescription pills constantly, and eventually his sexcapades would just amp up to the next level. It got to the point where he hired two girls and they go at it, and he just watched. And
with the snake?
No, I think the snake was in the trunk, sleeping.
Oh, that's
interesting. Your mind went there. That's a good way of ending Planet Collingwood here on Studio A of FreedomSlips.com. Thank you, one and all, for gents being on the call. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And if you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment. But if you're on Rumble, do that as well. I'm also on Odyssey as well as BitChute, because I'm kind of afraid of censorship. And one day, the big tech will be brought down to our submission. See you next week, everyone. We'll be back in 6 days and 22 hours. I love you.